Hello YouTube, welcome to a new video. So recently I've noticed that my channel hasn't been doing that great, so I decided to catch on to the new phenomenon which has not been around for 2 years, called reaction videos, or more likely criticism videos. So I found this video on the internet a while back and I thought I'd share with you my crappy opinions on it. Now I will warn you before you start this video contains my opinions, and if you choose to disagree with them, then whatever. I certainly know that there are many people who will disagree with them. Just a quick disclaimer before I start the video, please do not go out of your way to witch hunt or and cause disturbance to anyone who I do comment on during this video. Thank you and enjoy this video.
So I just need to use your clear awareness. You found a little bit of stress.
This video is recorded using vertical camera. I now, therefore, cannot take it seriously.
Are you wanting to walk or are you just going to be?
Oh, just kidding.
Yeah. Afternoon, this is a presentation by Harry Armitage. Harry has said that he is very welcome to questions throughout the presentation, so if you have questions, please raise your hand and wait for Harry to ask for them. We will have a formal question session at the end. So any questions that you want to leave to the end, please wait until then. Thank you.
The definition of feminism is equality between men and women, if you look it up on Google. In this presentation, I'm going to prove to you that that in 2016 is not the case.
Right, well, instantly I can tell whose side I'm going to take in this argument.
There was a first wave of feminism, the suffragettes, who campaigned for the vote and for equality, and then there was second wave feminism in around the 60s, campaigning for equality in domestic gender roles and things like that. So, and then recently there's been a third wave feminism, who have consistently lied about things.
Not the hero Gotham deserves, but the hero it needs.
For example, the wage gap between men and women. That is a lie. 77 cents to the dollar is a lie. It doesn't take into account the different hours worked by men and women on average in jobs. It doesn't take into account the different jobs that men and women do. And it doesn't take into account many, many other factors. Once you factor all these in, it is statistically irrelevant, that the wage gap. This is just one example of the lies that have been perpetrated by modern third wave feminism. Now, they've also created a rape culture that they've put on society, that they've said, oh, there is a rape culture in the society. In Western civilization, there is no rape culture. We put rapists in prison.
And we put him on TV.
And rapists, even if wrongly accused, their lives are ruined. If you want a rape culture, look to the Middle East. They hate free speech. They don't like it when their opinions are challenged. They try to ban words like bossy.
Well, mate, to be honest, what aren't they trying to ban? First of all, it's wage gap. Second of all, it's ban video games. They haven't got a fat female character in it.
And they try to ban things on Twitter. They try to ban people from having their opinion. They don't like other people's opinions.
For some reason that reminds me of someone, but I can't exactly remember who.
The imbalances on people have flipped, and feminism says that it's about equality, but I've never once seen a feminist campaign against the fact that, on average, women, if they rape a man, they get 2 years, 3 years in jail. But if it happens the other way around, it's 20 years. Surely, if they're about equality, shouldn't it be the same for both genders? Other flipped gender imbalances include not really flipped, but gender imbalances include the massive suicide rate of men under 30. I've never heard a feminist or a third wave feminist once speak about how bad this is.
I will say this kid is amazing at some of the points he's made, is very intellectual, and pointing out that feminists haven't actually responded to not just their own gender issues, male issues either. See, the difference between a feminist and a politician is a politician will always try to see things in an equal light. You will see two sides of the argument and say, okay, this is my side of the argument, please pitch to me your side, and they'll have an intellectual debate about it. A feminist will say, this is my opinion, if you don't agree with me, then I'm going to call the cops because you're obviously harassing me, which is actually a topic of a very funny video. If this feminist goes up to a guy and says, hey, what's your name? This guy says, humongous, and then immediately starts yelling at him for harassing her. And I think that video highlights some of the bullshit things that feminism has literally become because of the people that stand for it today.
It's not about equality. It's not. It's about lying. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Would you consider yourself a feminist?
No, Harry, I would not, because I don't believe... Well, I believe in equality, but I don't believe in feminism because I believe that that's not about equality.
What's the biggest lie told by third-wave feminists
Well,
that you haven't mentioned already?
That I haven't mentioned already?
Yes.
They have lied about... Well, the main really important ones are the ones that I've already mentioned, but they often use singular cases of rape to sort of get out the word of, oh, we need awareness for this thing, so they lie about it. But surely if they're lying about it to get awareness, that's getting awareness of the fact that sometimes people lie. Any more questions?
So, originally,
Right. Instantly, from the way the teacher responds, I can tell I do not agree with her in whatever point she has. As in, I believe, for the long run, she knew what this guy was doing. She thought that he wasn't going to do as well as he did, and she thought that she could ask him all these questions and pretty much push feminist propaganda. And if you're saying, oh, Jared, you're looking too far into this, why are you saying that? Well, if you listen closely, the way she responds to this guy, it's basically trying to look for a weak point in this argument. She's doing it pretty obviously, actually, with just the way that her tone, just being really pissy at him. Even the moment he finishes, he doesn't even congratulate him. And sure, people can ask questions, but in this manner, it seems to be, well, she seems to be trying to push feminism as a concept through a kid's school speech, which is in itself pretty scummy, even for a teacher.
feminism was created because there was an imbalance.
Yeah.
And originally it was the imbalance between men and women. The idea now is not feminism being an imbalance of gender, but being equality of all. You talk a lot about men versus women. But what about people who call themselves transgender? What about people that perhaps don't identify with a gender at all?
In relation to what?
How they should be perceived by society? Do they not count in the idea of feminism?
Well, no, because feminism, if you look up the definition, which if you ask a feminist, they'll always refer you to, is about the push for women's rights and equality between men and women.
If I call myself a feminist, I wouldn't say that I battle for the rights of women. I would say I battle for the rights of equality. So when we talk about the shift of language and definitions, is it not fair to say that definitions shift and change depending on the need within society?
Well, just because you say you are something doesn't mean that that's what the movement is about. So I could say that I'm a radical jihadist, doesn't mean that I'm a radical jihadist. Well, because you can say that you're something, but the movement doesn't necessarily represent that. If you say that you're about equality for all, then most of feminism isn't about equality for all. It's about equality between men and women. That's what modern feminism is about. For example, with the wage gap, they haven't. When they give you the wage gap statistics, 77 cents to the dollar, they don't mention other people who may not identify with the gender or people who identify themselves as trans. So that's the main thing that I'm fighting.
Okay.
Now, you may think, well, people can ask questions. That's what teachers are there to do. They're there to, well, pretty much help a student get better, even if it means having to tear holes in his argument. But this woman is trying to tear him apart in her rigorous questions. And, okay, fine, she can ask questions. I'm not saying that she can't just because she is a teacher. But the way she's doing it, and especially in the tone she's doing it in, seems to be continuously getting pittier and pittier just because this guy's actually done a marvellous speech and she can't poke any holes in it. And as I said, this person probably has a feminist agenda, which is not the kind of person which you'd want trying to, well, teach your children ideas. And, okay, fine, feminism as a concept, it works. It's not an evil concept. It's not a bad concept. But the people that represent it and the people that are pushing the ideas, or the newer ideas of feminism about how everything should be banned, how, oh, I got a mean comment on the internet, oh, let's go ring the police up. That's something that should be tackled. And sure, phrases like be a man or grow a pair of balls still exist, and that's another thing that's a bit sexist, but it's historical. It's not something you can just change. You can't blame someone for something that happened in history long time ago about how men used to be the dominant ones who'd go out hunting and women would cook at home. That's simply a fact of, well, nature. Time goes on. And I think what what feminism is, it's just modern feminism is just a cult. I'm losing my breath, sorry. It's just pretty much a cult that's trying to tell men off that for what's happened in history.
So yeah, I'd say that there is equally a disparity between class systems. So if you are born into a certain class of family, your income equates to a certain amount. And that's purely with how you're born, which is a very similar thing to do with gender.
In fact, no, it's not. It's not similar at all, as gender is a biological thing, and wealth is something, perhaps you're born into it, but it can easily go away, unlike a penis or a vagina. I mean, sure, if you go through extensive surgery. And to be honest, I don't think women are the real people who are suffering in this day and age. And that might be controversial, but it's actually religious groups like, well, not extremists, but it's religious minorities, ethnic minorities, gays, lesbians, transgenders, whatever. And I think generally trying to say, oh, we don't like something, let's change it, without looking at what else is going on in the world around you, is it's something that should be contemplated, that you're not the only one who's going through shit. And if that just relates to one person or a massive group of people, then it doesn't really change it.
Do you think that that is as much of an issue, if not more so, or less so, than gender inequality?
Well, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about gender inequality and how it's misrepresented by feminism because they're saying that they're for gender equality when they're actually not.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on inequality in general, including the class system?
Well, ideally, I would like to eradicate all inequalities, but I'm not going to do that by calling myself a feminist.
One of the points you made was that there is a rape culture in other parts of the world. So if you called yourself a feminism because you were fighting for the rights of those people in those parts of the world, is that such a bad thing?
Well, no, it's not, but once again, you can say that you can call yourself a feminist because you believe in that, but that's not what modern feminism is generally about.
Why not? Why hasn't that changed?
What do you mean? Why hasn't?
Why do you think that the premise of feminism hasn't changed? It should have. Why do you think it hasn't?
Well, because I think people still believe that there are imbalances because statistics are misrepresented. For example, the wage gap.
And why is that?
Well, because people believe that as they've been oppressed in the past, they should have some status over other people in the future. So you sort of see that with people saying, I've actually heard a lot of people say, yeah, because I'm a feminist because women have been oppressed for hundreds of years. If they've been oppressed for hundreds of years, why do you need to be a feminist now? You can say that you're aware of those things, but you don't need to carry on campaigning for the same things.
So, in your opinion then, men and women are currently equal?
Yes, in the broader sense, in the Western culture. If you look elsewhere, then no.
Just going to give you one more example. Paternity and maternity pay are massively different. Do you think that's fair?
In what way are they different?
Men get two paid weeks. Women can have up to 6 months. Now I get that the woman's had the baby, but that doesn't mean that the man doesn't want to be at home with their child.
No, but broader speaking, that's generally the case.
Yeah, but what do you think about that example?
Well, that example, broader speaking, men generally would rather stay at work.
Oh no. Boy, hit.
Sexism.
Triggered.
Yes, sir?
Paternity and maternity leave are now the same.
Are they?
They've been recently changed, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Interesting comment at the end there.
Oh, what's this?
One more.
You said earlier in your speech that rape culture was caused mainly by feminism and could be caused by social standards.
Well, there isn't one. There isn't a rape culture. Rapists are put in jail, and even if they're falsely accused of rape, their lives are completely ruined. If that's not a rape culture. If it's a rape culture, if rape was glorified.
I think the idea of rape culture is that it's not glorified, it's more so normalised throughout like video games and things. I think Miss gave the example of in one video game you can make your character rape a woman.
You can't though. Rape is frowned upon. You can't make that. That is a falsehood. You can't do that in that game. You can't unless you specifically install something that you got from the internet while searching for that. You can't do that in that game.
Any other questions? Thank you, Harry.
Yes! Alright, so that's about all we've got time for tonight. It's 2:23 in the morning, actually. I've got a lot of videos to record before I have to go back to school and upload them all. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I know it's a bit different from what I normally do, and I know it might be controversial to some, but what I wanted to do is not just make this channel about gaming, make it something more. And I know this video might not be the best, it might not be interesting to some people, and sure, if you don't like it, then I won't do any more of them. But I just wanted to create a mildly serious video on topical issues that are happening in the world today. If you have a request for one of these videos I should do in the future, what video I should comment on, and on what issue, then I'd be happy to do so. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you do enjoy this video. It would help me out a lot. As always, have a lovely day, and yeah, I will see you in the next video.